This week, new photo assignment.
Hey everyone, welcome to Keep Shooting Monday, number 74. My name is Greg Cazillo from Cazillo.com.
I'm Catherine Azar from Catherine Azar Photography.
And blog post.
We do. Epson is coming up with a blog post based on your viewer questions. So make sure if you have a question about their printers, paper, uses, etc., please give us a holler over on the forum and post your question for Epson. Additionally, later in the show, we have our next photo topic for our contest sponsored by Epson, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we have some really good ones so far. Some on paper, some on ink, and some general stuff, some profile questions.
Questions, you mean, yes.
Yeah, for Epson, so I can't wait to send those all over. Actually, I have a conference call with Epson, I think it's today or tomorrow, to talk about that stuff, so
and I'll tell you, I never thought I'd have use for a home printer, and when you gave me the...
Sent the 2000 over, yep.
Oh my word, I have used it over and over. I love it. It is so convenient to have just in my house, ready to print and go and hand to clients immediately. And
we really need to get over to your house to record that video.
It was so easy to set up, which I was I'm very user knowledgeable for software and things, but as far as the techie things, setting things up, that's when I call Greg, and I had no problem setting it up.
You just plugged it in and it went.
And just setting the profiles for it and stuff, it was not a problem at all. So if you have any questions for Epson, please let us know.
Did you download the driver when you did that, or did it
did.
just, okay, you actually went to the site and did it?
I did.
I wasn't sure if you had needed to do that. I couldn't remember when I installed it on my computer if it automatically pulled it down or if you needed to download it.
It says it can do that, or if it doesn't, then I Googled how to do it, and it was not a problem at all.
Okay, good.
Even for me.
Very good. Speaking of easy things, Adobe is working on a lot of new stuff. If you have not checked out Adobe CC, their new Creative Cloud package, you might check it out. Coming up this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern is their announcement with a lot of new stuff. I think their byline is "Everything is New Again" is the byline that they're using to talk about this. And I really think that they're going to come up with something really good. I do think that they're going to announce the new Lightroom 6, and they've actually teased a couple of little things, mostly Photoshop related. One of them is, one of the rumors anyway, is that they're going to come out with the Photoshop CC touch-friendly version, basically making it work on Windows 8 and possibly the iPad.
So touch-friendly, do you mean like you use your finger to?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, so in other words, it's going to work better on the Surface, Microsoft Surface, which is actually gaining a lot of popularity right now. And I have a feeling that Apple might be getting into that larger touchscreen device.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Kind of thing soon, because the Surface, the first two versions of the Surface, people weren't very thrilled about. But this third version, the Surface 3, is supposed to be really good, and it's supposed to really hit the mark on that. So, but anyway, that's one of the rumors. They're going to be announcing it. That rumor was posted over on Engadget. A couple other things that were out there is 5 things you need to know about Adobe Photoshop and their layers. Filtering and searching, selecting multiple layers, stamp multiple layers into one, turn background into a layer simply by clicking the lock icon and the new generator feature. You can watch that video. It's from Terry White. He's a really awesome Photoshop guy. I think he works with Kelby, Scott Kelby. I think he's one of them, or one of those guys. I know he started out with Kelby. Let's put it that way. Gotcha. I don't know that he is still working with Scott or not, but I know he started out with Kelby, so it's going to be good, solid information. He makes some really good videos if you want to subscribe to him on YouTube. The other one that they put out is this focus mask thing, and basically Photoshop is automatically detecting where your bokeh is, what part of the image is out of focus, allowing you to select either the out of focus area or the selected area So you can adjust color, you can make it darken or lighten. So
I thought you were going to say it's a way that if your picture is out of focus, a way to focus it.
No, you can't fix that.
I wonder if someday that's going to come. You can take
well,
that
you
out
kind of have
picture.
that in the Lytro.
The Lytro?
I think it's called Lytro camera. Basically, it's a camera that allows you to select your depth of field later. And fix it later, or basically adjust it later. So you kind of have it with that. You never know. We'll see. A couple years, you never know what'll happen.
Absolutely.
So, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, there are a couple things that we looked at. One of which was photographers describe their perfect day. And it is in Picture Correct, and it talks about Jerry, and I hope I'm saying his last name right, Gijonas. And he asked a photographer to describe her perfect day. And at first she starts to hem and haw a little bit and says, I'll get up at 6 a.m. And he said, really? On your perfect day, you're going to get up at 6? But anyway, it talks about the things that she would like to do. And it made me start thinking about what would my perfect day look like. Mm-hmm. And besides of course, the stock answers about spending time with your family and whatnot, if I had to pick a perfect photography day, I think the first part of it would be following a family around Longwood Gardens, which is a beautiful park near, I don't know if you consider it a park, but place around here with lots of vegetation and flowers. And I did that a couple weeks ago, followed a family with a 1-year-old around and got some fantastic photographs. So I'd start out the day with a family. And then the second part of the day, do something to give back. This past weekend, I shot a Challenger baseball game. So it's kids with special needs playing baseball, and it's just so rewarding. So the combination of a family and then something to give back would be my perfect day, and then follow it up with some sort of nighttime shoot.
Sounds like fun.
How about you? What would you do?
Probably some kind of a high-end commercial shoot.
Really? That would be your perfect day?
Yeah, because I really enjoy doing them. It would need to be super challenging as far as lighting and setup and location and all those things.
So product or people?
Probably people.
Okay.
Yeah, it would definitely have to involve a person somewhere.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I think that would probably be mine. Cool location, whether it be here in the States or not. Selling for some product, making some awesome image or series of images for a high-end commercial.
So let us know in the comments. Let us know what would your perfect day include.
I think we'll make that our question of the week. What do you think?
Okay, that certainly could be one.
Sounds good.
And in the article, too, there was something else that he brought up about people's enjoyment of photography. And the quote is, I think what's missing in today's generation of photographers is that they may be obsessed, but I think for some reason they're obsessed with notoriety. And the previous comment talks about being obsessed a little bit with business. They want everyone to know who they are, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and they think that success is getting 200 likes on an image. And I think that's true. Sometimes we get so worked up about the marketing side of our business and getting likes and notoriety that we forget about just getting out there and shooting and what my clients don't care if I have 4,000 likes on my Facebook page or 200. They just care, am I doing the best job for them?
Well, that's what we're doing with this show. I mean, right now we're averaging, 1,000, 1,500 views on this in the first week in this show. Would it be great if we had more shares and more likes and whatever? Yeah, it'd be great. And of course, we always ask for more shares and more and more thumbs up, all that stuff. But we're still doing it. We're still enjoying doing it, and we're still enjoying the comments and the praise and the things that come out of it, and the people show their appreciation for it. So I guess that's why we still do it.
It's nice to know that you're seen and heard sometimes too.
Yep, sometimes. That's going to be the gift for the day.
Great. I knew it. I give him great fodder for embarrassing things. But tying into that, as far as your perfect day, I found something on the HuffPost, actually, believe it or not. Dying man's wish to return to the forest comes true. When a photographer followed this man into the forest, he's a former forest ranger, and what he wanted was to go back into the outdoors. And again, one of my favorite things to do is to help people and make wishes come true. And I had nothing to do with this, but that would be part of my perfect day. Like I said, shooting the Challenger game or something like this. And so use what you have to give back. Flipping from that to something that's less positive, 10 stupid things people believe about photographers in Pixel Pluck.
Yeah, and these are perfect.
Some of them are eh, but The first one, oh, it's just about pressing a button. And people have no idea what goes into even just...
Not real photography, real work, the things, the time you spend learning, the time you spend picking the right gear and setting yourself up and watching shows like this and, you know, doing all those things. People have no clue.
And all the choices that you have when you're shooting. There's no one perfect way. And if you ask 10 photographers, you're going to get 10 different answers as to how to shoot a perfect picture.
Yep.
This is my favorite. Friends will work for free. And when people say, oh, if you shoot this charity event, you'll get lots of contacts and you can give out your cards. And no, do the charity event because you want to.
Maybe if you put my logo on the wall, you know, maybe 50 feet, I'll get something out of it.
But we've talked about this before. Do it because you want to give back, not because you're expecting something from it.
Pick and choose the ones that you want to do for those kinds of freebies, rather than every single one that comes along that just presents itself. Sometimes it's better to say no.
Was there anything else in there that struck you?
Well, of course, the better gear makes better photographs. Right. My saying with that is that better gear makes better photographs easier. You can get those better photographs much easier with better gear. Yeah. You might not have, with a longer lens, you might not have to crop as much. The faster focus might be a little bit better. The quality might be a little bit better with a higher ISO on a newer camera. But that doesn't mean that you can't do a lot of stuff with the equipment that you have. So.
Yeah, well, there definitely is a difference. I get your point, but when I was shooting with my D50, the ISO maxed out at 1600 and it wasn't pretty. Yeah. So you need, sometimes you do need, right, you definitely for some things need the better equipment, but it's not completely about the better equipment.
And it's the same, well, they also mentioned here, I know a guy who can do it cheaper and then also discounts and more discounts. Well,
you've yelled at me about that before.
Yeah, my saying is, my thought is when I'm pricing something, I put a price on it. Sometimes I'll go high and I'll add a couple of things onto it that I can then take back off in order to bring that price back down. But I don't just discount it just to discount it. I'll usually take something away in order to change that.
And I think sometimes experience helps with that because I remember, I mean, it's not that long since I started out a few years ago, and you want the job so badly that you're willing to bend over
some jobs,
more.
Yeah, some
when
jobs.
you're starting, a job is a job, and you're excited to get it. So,
very true.
As you spend more time and realize, okay, I just worked for like $2 an hour, you realize it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Over on Reframe, which guys, if you don't follow, that is from Gizmodo, reframe.gizmodo.com. They post a lot of photography-related articles. And this week, Canon put out on their YouTube channel, starts out about midway through the video. I'll put a link over to Reframe. Basically, it gives you a description on the right way to clean your gear, what equipment to use in order to clean it. And they actually talk about a very high concentration of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. They show 91% alcohol in this, I think.
I think that's fairly standard on the bottles of alcohol.
Yeah, 91% alcohol. A lot of times alcohol, they'll put like softeners and skin stuff in there, so that's why you need the higher purity alcohol. Plus, it evaporates so quickly. That's the only other reason that they use alcohol.
Clean your lens. It does remind me when I was a kid. You probably can't relate, the old film reel photography. It's not an exciting video, but it is informational.
Yeah, and the information is solid. It's really good, and actually, it's really funny. At the end, they say, well, make sure you test your equipment to make sure that it works out well. And on Reframe, they have this really funny GIF where they took out of the video and they made it of her taking her own selfie. So, yeah, it's funny. Let's see.
More DIY.
Yeah, DIY photography. A room-sized light box provides the perfect lighting every time. Couple things about this. Number one, on a small scale, I am not a fan of using a small light box. I think it makes the light so even on both sides, and it just gets rid of all the shadows. So imagine if this was a light box right here, and you have lights coming in from either side. It's just going to make it completely even, and when you get rid of all the shadows, you get rid of all the dimension,
some interest,
and it doesn't look good.
This is not a small one.
No, this guy built a big, huge light box, which actually works out well, and it'd be interesting to try it if you have the space.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean he's working in probably. It
looks like a little bit of a warehouse.
Yeah, he's working in a pretty darn big room here.
So with this kind of a huge light box, what kind of light source would you have to use?
You're going to need a large strobe. So, you know, a big 1600 watt white lightning or big pro photos or whatever. You're going to need a pretty strong softbox in order to, lights in order to put out enough light. And you might need to use a couple of them in order to get it even.
Yeah.
So you might need one down low, another one up high in order to make it even. And so in the video, he's actually showing the light, and some of the photos you could see there was like full body shots. One light might not cover that. You might need to put 2 or even 3 along that panel in order to get it even.
And I'm looking at it and thinking, we've talked about out on the soccer fields and stuff like that, you might have trouble with the wind taking it away, but that could be cool as a diffuser as well.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. You're going to need staff to hold it in that case. Yeah. Or a heck of a lot of weights in order to keep it down, or a very calm day in order to keep the equipment down on the ground. But or you just make it into a big tent or a big room. Well, we talked about making a tent.
That's what I'm saying. This is similar.
Yeah, which I still think we should try to do one of these days.
And market.
Take one of those tent frames and make it into a big
don't
soft
give
box.
Your idea away.
Why? It's fun. Why not? Give it all away. Somebody will like it. Somebody will use it.
Market it.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. So anyway, good video, and I think it's worth trying one of these days. So. Anything else? Any new stuff we were going to do?
That's it.
That was it? Okay.
On our list.
So next up, we will get into a couple of gazillion questions.
Josh 885, how to stop Lightroom from going to the quick collection on import. He has some feedback.
Finally, I found out how to do this. This is actually a correction from our Adobe Lightroom 6 wishlist video. And I didn't realize this little checkbox was there, but when you go into Lightroom, you go into the preferences, and I was going to pull this up, but I didn't. Select the quote current/previous import collection during import. There's actually a checkbox for that, and so you can easily deselect that. So thankfully, maybe Adobe actually listened to me one time. And they snuck that in under the radar, and I didn't realize it, that it was there in Lightroom 5. Thank you for putting that in, Adobe. And so now if we can just get the backup dialog box fixed, I think it'll get rid of the annoyances. You know what I mean? Those are my two big annoyances in Lightroom.
Would you be happy then? Or would you find something else to pick on?
There's always more stuff that you want to improve, of course. But those are my two big, in my mind, annoyances. Okay. Do you agree?
For you, yeah. I'm less easily annoyed. Kirk Clark, when starting out as a professional with no wedding pictures, how do you get work when the first thing clients want to see are photos? Well, one of my first recommendations is to second shoot for another photographer who will allow you to use those images. That serves a couple of purposes. You can gain experience by basically apprenticing at someone with more experience's elbow. And second, you have some images that you may use. A lot of prime shooters allow you to use them, but you have to be careful. Some do not. So you need to make sure that you're hooked up with the right people. Another way is to do stylized shoots with people, either who are already married, put them back in their dresses, get tuxes, and take photos, and use those for marketing purposes. Other ideas?
That's my top two.
Yeah.
So I don't see any other way unless you're going to be able to sell, you know, if you have other photos that are portrait sessions or something like that that are good sessions that show good work, but most likely a bride's going to want to see, you know, bridal portrait. And so that's the only way to do it, is set it up yourself or to second shoot. So both ways you're going to learn, and both ways it's going to do you good. So I suggest doing both of them. And the more you do of the second shooting, the more comfortable you're going to be shooting a wedding anyway.
Absolutely.
So definitely the way to go.
Either iCazed or iCazed, I'm not exactly sure. Do you need a macro lens to do flower photography, or is there another basic lens that can do it well enough?
You don't have to have a macro lens. It will make your job easier. Just like I talked about earlier in the show, better equipment does make your job easier and can improve your work, but it doesn't say you absolutely have to. He mentions having a normal 18 to 55. I don't know what the close focus distance is, which is what you're looking for. Basically, how close to the subject can you get while the lens still stays in focus? That's what you need. It's going to tell you a range of focus from infinity all the way down to 1 foot or maybe a meter or whatever it is. And so, once again, my suggestion, as always, to try out the equipment that you have. If it doesn't quite work, then rent some equipment or go to the store and try it out. If you have a local camera store, try out that lens, see if it's going to work out for you, and then find the right one that actually would work, and you'll be good to go. So try it out, see if it's going to work, check the specs, and then go from there. Yeah, because it's all about shooting. You're going to get better at it. So look at that close focus distance on that lens if it's not a macro. So our next Keep Shooting photo assignment, sponsored by, I should have grabbed the sign earlier, but it worked. Epson is about flash. You can do anything with your flash that you want, from the flash on camera to the flash off camera, from one flash to a dozen of them. Do whatever you want, indoor, outdoor, nature, people, product, studio, anything you want. Make sure that there's a flash. It's obvious that it was shot with flash. Maybe not obvious that it was shot with flash. I guess it really doesn't matter. Absolutely. Make sure you're using your flash. Give us some awesome flash photos. And so that is the next assignment. Again, sponsored by Epson. Thank you very much. The winner that we choose will get a 16 by 20 print printed by me here in the studio on the 3880. And then the runners-up that we choose, however many we choose, last time we chose 4 runners-up, will win 11 by 14 prints. And so I'll ship them out. And actually, just so you guys know, I'll actually be shipping out those other ones coming up probably Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to get them shipped out and in the mail. So let's talk a little bit about how to shoot with a flash.
Specifically Phil Flash?
Specifically just the flash in general. Let's first talk about exposure. The first thing you need to know, and I think I'm going to add a cool little graphic right about here. I think that's going to be the good way to go. Add a little graphic thing. Start out, there's actually, I'm going to talk about it this way, and this is the way that I think about it. There's 5 things that affect the amount of flash that you have in the scene. The 2 main ones are your aperture and your ISO.
Shutter affects it though too.
No, not exactly. Not exactly. Only in the sync speed, and that's a whole other discussion. But the amount is only the ISO and your aperture. Then you have the distance from the flash to the subject. You have any modifiers that are on there. So for example, she can pop down that little diffuser right there, and that's going to make a difference. Or that little card. Those are modifiers. Those are going to change the amount of flash that's hitting the person, the subject, the whatever. And the last one is the power that the flash is set at, whether it's set on TTL, whether it's set on a manual mode. All of those 5 things make a difference. Now, Kathy also said, well, what about shutter? What does it do?
Light.
That's your ambient light. Exactly. It's completely different, and that's how you control the mix of the 2.
Right.
So you want to talk about
that? Background lighting that you're getting.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're able to raise and lower that shutter speed to get a little bit more background, a little bit less background, and so you can mix that. And that's what I do.
So when you were saying the amount of light you're getting, you just meant from your cam,
from the strobe.
From the strobe. So
yes.
I was misinterpreting. So yes, I do know.
Sorry, you had to correct me. That's okay. No, I probably didn't say it right.
No, you probably did. Yeah. But the big thing with Phil Flash is just using enough to light up the shadows in whatever you're trying to shoot. Yesterday I used this actually on the baseball field because I was shooting the kids as they were getting their awards. The championship game was going on. So I needed just a little bit of flash because they were right in front of the dugout where it was a little darker and they were moving. So I used a little bit of Phil Flash to get them.
Fill Flash Outdoor is actually really good, and people don't realize how how perfect it is to add that little bit of flash. And where was the flash? Did you have it on your camera?
On my camera. I didn't have time to set anything else up.
Good. Well, that's actually fine because that's where you want fill flash to come from.
Right.
You want that fill flash to come from the camera angle and go straight in. Whereas since it is a fill, it's not the main light. The main light is sun or some other source, maybe another strobe coming in. But that fill flash is on the camera. Maybe it's the little flash that's on the camera. Maybe it's a larger one like the 910 or a 600 and 800, whatever it is, or the 480 or whatever it is if you have a Canon one.
Just for if you're not familiar with fill flash, the way I usually do it is put it on TTL.
Yep.
And then shoot, and as I need exposure compensation, you can bump it up or down, and it's very easy and quick to do just from the menus on the back. You can Google that to find it. I was going to show it here, but it's kind of complicated to do.
Yep, maybe we'll do another little handheld thing. Anyway, so yes, that's a great way to do it. When you're shooting with TTL, fill flash, and you're moving around, that is the way to go on that TTL setting. It's my experience that I think it's easier to set it on manual, the flash on manual, and of course your camera on manual most of the time, when you are working with a subject or the camera that's not moving. So right now I'm shooting in the studio and quote unquote shooting in the studio and I'm just making up a scene. I'm in the studio, the subject isn't moving, I'm not moving, or the camera's in one spot. I want to be on manual because I want a consistent amount of light every single time. So if, say the person turns a little bit, that might change the amount of light that's coming out of that strobe because they're wearing a dark or a light shirt. Whereas they turn back this way, you don't want that amount of light to change every time. That's why it's just staying on manual when you're not moving and the subject isn't moving. It makes your life easier, and when you're first starting out with flash, it makes your job easier because you're not wondering why the output of the flash is changing every single frame. What's going on? Put it on manual and your life will be a lot easier. You'll figure it out.
And it's not always right. TTL is not perfect.
Correct.
So there are times when I have switched it over. As a matter of fact, when I was shooting last night, I wasn't happy with all the images, so I flipped it over to manual really quickly and was able to adjust it.
Yeah, sometimes you just might need to bump it up a little bit too much, or again, it's only reading what is in front of it. It is working with the camera. It could be a combination of your other settings. Maybe you needed to go to, say, a center weighted metering mode rather than a matrix mode, which is everything. I forget what they call it in the Canon. But anyway, that could also make a difference.
Because there was a dark green wall behind the players, and so sometimes I think it was trying to read off of the wall versus the players.
Were you showing any of the sky or anything in the background?
No.
No? Just that? Nope. Okay. So yeah, all that stuff could make a difference. So I think that was everything. Just as a quick review, when you're setting up your flash with the camera, ISO and aperture. This is the big thing you got to remember. Your ISO and your aperture, get them set. All right. Get a good ambient exposure, then turn on your flash. If you do it in that way, you're gonna be able to see the difference in between the no flash and the flash. You're going to be able to easily see what happens when you're adding that flash, and you'll be able to know if you need to add more or add less. And if you're not sure, turn it back off, shoot another one, turn it back on, see what's going on, especially if your settings are changing as you're working, as you're going along. It can be a good way to really learn it and work with it. That's the goal of the assignments, is obviously to learn. So
practice.
Yes, we didn't set a date. I guess I'm just going to have to set a date and put it down there on the bottom of the video. So about a month or so out, we'll get them posted. They have to be posted onto the forum. They have to be shot from today, starting today, which is June 16th. You got to start from today. They can't be from a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. Start today. That's the goal of the assignment. Just like when you're in class, hint, hint, the teacher, the elementary school teacher here, okay? You got to start from today and then do it. Yeah, do your homework, get it posted over the forum, and you could win those prints. Thank you again, Epson, for sponsoring that. And get those blog posts, the questions for Epson's blog post posted today. I'm hoping to get them 2025, so we need some more really good ones. I said I have about 10 or 15 really good ones, but let's get about 25 to give to them. I think that'd be really awesome.
And tell us what your perfect day of photography would be like.
Yep, agreed. So thank you, everyone. I think that's it for today. Keep Shooting Monday, number 74. Thanks, guys. Keep shooting. See you.